And we're up.
We're up. Hello, hello. Dr. Misak, Pittsburgh Alternative Health, Vitalometry, saying hello again. I don't have my YouTube thing up here. We'll have to get that up. But today's going to be a little bit of an interesting day. We're going to walk around the office a little bit and just make the most of this. We're going to try a little explore cam here and then do some stuff to make it a little different. So as always, I'm going to go to the Bible app. And this week is a little different than what I would have expected. It's a Psalm 103:13 that says, "As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him." That's interesting, you know, that are you coming in to join me? Oh, okay. So it's interesting, you know, that God tells us to fear him, but at the same time just love him. And but yeah, I mean, there was always a point where we feared our fathers or mothers, didn't we? So interesting. But today we're going to do things a little bit different. Annie's trying to share this on Facebook right now. And what we're going to do is, number one, Annie's been having a bad morning. So, you know, we always talk about herbs on some capacity outside the show, but we never bring herbs into the show. And another thing is testing. So we're going to run a sample because everyone's always saying, hey, how do you run the numbers? And so we are going to video running the numbers today. While I'm sitting here, I am going to pull up my YouTube just so I can be in line with where we are and see the chat and all that other fun stuff, but I got to turn the volume down. And let me go on here, and then I can see where everyone is. And she called it running your numbers. Okay, good. So Betty, good morning. Leah, Jackie began, good morning, and Marty. Again, what we're trying to do is Annie ran in to try to share things on Facebook. And then if you guys are able to share and let people know that we're out there, we don't really know how to get this grassroots into the hands of people because we've had problems with the links, and we've had where people have shared the links. We've had problems where YouTube filters as far as where this goes to. And so it's a shame, but it is what it is. So the best we can do is ask you to reach out, give the thumbs up always, and to share it to the best of your ability. Annie, you're looking like you're going crazy on that computer. How you doing this morning? We've had problems where YouTube filters as far as where the cheese.
We're good.
Totally.
Sorry. No, we got a little bit of a streaming issue, but I think we're okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
So good morning, Diana. So Annie, to start the day, if it all is looking good, if you want to come in here, we'll hook up this this little webcam and we'll see how this goes, and we'll just kind of run through and see.
Okay.
What your thoughts are.
I put a little floater out there to make sure everyone can hear us. YouTube's telling me that we have a low signal, but it seems like we're live and we're fine. So, but no one is answering. It's a little bit of, well, there's a little bit of a delay.
There, okay. So that's okay. Yes, that's good. Just let us know if people, if we're having good sound and whatever else. What I'm going to do is, Annie, I'm going to plug in this camera, okay, and we're going to see what this thing does for us. Okay. And switch over.
Do you have your microphone in there just in case?
It's just, I do have it in there, but I don't know if we can carry that around as well.
Okay. I just don't know if you'll lose sound off that video.
Yeah. So here you go. Are you ready? And we are going to go to.
I'm coming in. They said you can hear us.
Video camera. Let me see. Did it switch? It did switch. Ooh.
And it looks
okay.
good.
We are on this. So Annie, it is, you are up, girl. Okay. So what we're going to do is Annie's going to come back here and she's going to video and be able to watch this and kind of hold it up, and we're going to try experimenting with this little Logitech camera and to show you something. So to start the day, there you go, Annie, and that way I have it small. I don't know how to change the view, but so what we do is we do herbals and mix up herbals. I just kind of go on these shelves and grab some things, and it's your standard herb like 36 drops. We do about 3/4 of an ounce. And so what that does is an immediate effect, depending on what effect you're kind of going for. So, and Annie was having a bad morning, and so we throw a little bit of kava in there, a little bit of relaxation. Throw some rhodiola in here. Rhodiola is one of those adaptogenic herbs that turns around and helps with cortisol utilization. And the other one that does that is holy basil. So we're going to make some adaptogens that kind of just say, hey, let's get through our crazy day. And put that in there. Then for the other one that I like to mix with there is Eleuthero, also known as Siberian ginseng. And so I don't know if anybody's ever done this. So I went through a period once where I actually mixed up these little herbals, and I'd mix them up in a little half-ounce, like these little 10 ml jars. And I'd mix them up in here, and then I'd say, hey, pour this thing in a 4 ounces of water and shoot it down. But it's more of a drug effect. So it's kind of like, hey, to get really relaxed and put some of California popping in here. That's kind of the chill thing, relaxation aspect. Put too much of that, and I'll be falling asleep on the show. Hi, guys.
I'm ready for it.
And then let's see what else we want in here, Anthony. This is fun, by the way, people. So this is me just getting a DVD. So I can't see what you're saying about it. I hope you're enjoying it. Let's put a little burdock in there to make sure our livers we'll do Schisandra. I like Schisandra. It's a good liver herb as well as has a little bit of adaptogenic properties. And bottle's almost done. Finished out. And I think that's good.
This one's gonna hurt.
And finally, you gotta make it taste right. So we're gonna make it into a peppermint snot today with a squirt of peppermint in there. Now you should not drink something like this if you're gonna make herbs. The alcohol content is probably at about 40 to 50%, because most of these herbal extracts are done in 80 to 95% alcohol. So or 80 to 95%. So this, I'll take the one that's a little bit darker. I put the extra Schisandra in, and then you gotta say, hey, and cheers.
Cheers.
Woo! Okay, so what we're going to do today, now that we've done that, we're going to walk through the office, and Annie's holding the camera and kind of looking at where we're going, hopefully. And we're going to go back to the testing area. And I don't know how many of you guys have ever been to my office, but here is where we do our testing. So Annie set up some aromatherapy oils today to make everything. We need a little bit of extra light, Annie. I'll turn this on. Is that better? No? Off. Okay. So we basically have an area set up where we do testing. We have our cups, we have our meters, we have our test tubes, we have our solutions that we need. These are all solutions that we use for calibrating our meters, and then we have our cleaning area. So we have a little squirt bottle here, and we got to have a functional space. And if you watch that 5-minute video that we do on running numbers, you'll notice that we say to set things up, to always have the universal extract solution to the far left, the nitrate solution in the middle, and then the ammonia nitrate solution on the left. So if you're going to run numbers, you need a test tube, you need a dropper, and then we also use the pipettes. Where we store them so we can reuse them. We store them in isopropyl alcohol, and then we always use distilled water, and we just kind of rinse them out, a few times. And then if you have enough urine, you can suck up some urine. There's not a lot of urine today, but we usually suck up a little bit of urine and then squirt that down the drain, and then this is where we're working from. So to run your numbers, this is not bad. First, you turn your meters on. And we always suggest if you're following, we're trying to get a standardization because there's various meters that are out there. And some of them, like particularly conductivity meters, only go to a certain point, then you have to dilute the sample.
And it just, we're trying to have some consistency so people are using the same meters that are calibrated. So we always do the Hariba Lockwood Twin pH meter. I think it's the pH 22 meter because it gives 2 decimal places. We use the Hariba Lockwood Twin conductivity meter. It's called the EC22 because you won't have to dilute a sample. We can run your conductivity. We do have different refractometers. This one that I have here, I've had this for 10 years as an electric meter. And the great thing about electronic conductivity or bricks refractometers is you can just put some distilled water in there, close it, and you can zero it out, and you're calibrated. And that's the good thing. And it's a little bit different to calibrate the ones that you usually look through because you have to put a drop on it, look through it, and there's a screw on there to adjust it. So running numbers. First thing you do, you got to get somebody's spit. So you get their spit number, you sit there, wait for the meter to read, and I'm after that alcohol and everything in there while I'm right at 7.00. So hey, that's probably has a little bit of that in there. So you get the saliva, you rinse your meter out, and then you're going to put it in the urine. So the one thing that we do is usually have a piece of paper to write a set of numbers down. And so we always try to write the numbers down in the same order. And so if you're writing numbers down, basically the way I do it is I tell people to start with the equation to C, and so you're always looking at the same thing. So we just got the saliva pH, we're going to put it in there, 7.00. Then we're going to take the urine, and we're going to put some urine on all the meters. On the conductivity meter, there's 2 little holes on top of it. I always make sure to go really slow and get it in both of those holes. And just go, there you go, put some on there, and let's get some in that meter. And then 1 drop of urine in the test tube. So at this point, you can turn around, turn around and take all your readings. These are what numbers the sample this point. So we write down our pH, 5.30. We write down our bricks, 4.2. Wow, this person's dehydrated. You do 19.8. When you do the conductivity meter, you take the value that's on the meter, that's 19.8. You do 19.8 and you multiply that by 1.43. That's 28.3 is going to be our conductivity value. So, and then if you take the light and you go through the urine, and the question is does that light make it all the way through the urine? It's all tilted. You look at the light and you say, yeah, it makes it all the way through. But if you're looking, you can see particles in there. And so they're small. There's not a lot of them. So I do that as a 4+, because I see more than just, how to explain that? If you see anything floating in that urine as a cell debris, then for every particle you see, there's at least 20,000 particles you can't see. So if you see any particles at all, it's a 4N. And when you can visually see more floating around like you can in this urine today, then you're going to go on a plus system where it's 1+, where the light's still making it through, but you can see a lot of particles. 2+ is the light starting to have a little difficulty getting all the way through the cup when you're looking at it going from one side to the other. So the beam is not making it all the way through. And the 3+ is that light's not going to make it through. And so some people say you can do 4+ or more, but in reality, if it's 3+, you just have some funky urine and a lot of cell debris being dumped out. So we'll write that 4N+, and now we do the nitrates. I've already put 1 drop of urine in there, and so we always have a universal extract solution. Then we keep that in this little vial, and you take 6 drops universal extract. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Annie has set the camera up so you can watch my hands on this one. And then you're going to go in and you're going to squeeze the dropper. And I tell people to do it 120 times. And I just sit there and count it as I do it. I'll make sure we were on. So, 100. Okay, so about 120 times. So once you have your universal extract with your urine mixed, basically the idea there is that it's going to separate the compounds that are in there, and you take one drop and put it in two different wells. Okay, and so the first one that you use is the nitrate solution. Now this solution here is the one that is sulfuric acid. You do not want to get this on anything. In reality, you should be wearing gloves if you're doing this at home.
Talk a little slower. They're having volume issues. You're low.
Talk a little slower. So you take the nitrate solution, and I always tap it, and I make sure that I'm not going to do any drops anywhere that's nowhere except where I want them to go. And so now I'm going to go over one of these and go 4 drops. We go north, west, south, and then squirt everything back in, and I push it down. That's right. I set my timer, 5 minutes, and I go. Then I'm going to grab my ammonia nitrogen solution because we're going cold here, or quiet here, or no, just slower. And we're going to turn around and go north, west. And that's an immediate change. And so this one is going to be red in about, we read that number in the first 30 to 60 seconds, and you can see it immediately changing. It's got almost an orange hue coming around the outside of it. The whole thing's not going orange, but you can see it immediately forming a circle around. And when you look at your color chart, you're going to see like, well, that is probably almost going to go brown. But it's staying on the outskirts. So the question to me is that an 11, or is that a 9, or is a 10 would have a smaller circle going on the end. But the fact that you got a little bit of brown there, I'm actually going to go like a 10.5 on that. And so I come over here and I rate 10.5, and then I turn around and I'm waiting for this one to go on our timer, which we're still got 3 minutes left. So during that 3 minutes, what we do here at our office is 2 things. Number one is urinary analysis. So you have these dipsticks. They're basically, nope, this is the wrong one. That is our vitamin C dipstick. So we take a standard dipstick for reagents. It's called 10SG, 10 parameters with a specific gravity. I come over here, I have to hit my start menu. We'll wait for the meter to open up. And those of you who are home testers or testing other people, I highly recommend people to purchase one of these urinary analysis machines. They're not horribly expensive. They're probably about $150, and they just give you a good bit of information. When you do a dipstick, you need enough urine. You basically got to get the urine completely on the dipstick, tap it, and then you come over here and you put it on the testing plate. And now it's going to run for 60 seconds. So the other thing is we run a vitamin C strip. And so what you're supposed to read at 60 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and dip that in there. The vitamin C is called, the one that we found now is called the Merit Check 3. You can find these on Amazon. It gives you both pH, ketones, and vitamin C. So those who are doing ketogenic diets or are doing a low carb, it will tell you if you're going into ketosis. But we're looking for this vitamin C saturation. And vitamin C is so directly in association with energy. Reams showed that basically if your energy is down, your vitamin C level is down. There's direct correlations in that you need vitamin C in so many circumstances, both if you're too alkaline or if you're too acidic. I'm waiting for Andy to completely do a spin with the camera. We talked about that earlier, but
it's backwards.
It is backwards. So while I have this last minute, what I do is I come over here and I wash my meters out. So we just come over here and just rinse them with distilled water, clean them. When you're using this pH meter, that glass little plate in there is something that you do not want to touch with your fingers. We will spray that off, shake it off, and then I'll use a wipe it. That ran at a minute. So
I don't think they're hearing us.
Vitamin C status.
Hey, Doc, I don't think they're hearing us now.
And on the vitamin C, the strength to say, wow, 10. Right. Let's see. 10. when we're cleaning the meter, again, when I do this meter, we'll actually use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and just rinse it off with alcohol and let the alcohol evaporate off. The other aspect is we have 60 seconds left, so I'm going to finish rinsing these meters real quick and just show you that in 8 minutes, set of numbers and have that done. One more. Let's rinse this off. And then these out. So I always rinse the solutions with water several times, get it out of there, and then we take the still water, and I always do final rinses with still water, where I'll go in there a few times and just let the still water get them out. Now I just heard my my timer. Put these up to dry, and so then you come over and look at the blue. We see a blue circle, and it's pretty dark. The question is, where will we put that? And because of the darkness of it, you can look at that, the light blue around the outside versus being dark all the way through. That's going to be probably a 7. It could be almost a 7.5 based on where we're on, but I put that as a 7/10. We pull off our urinary analysis sheet, which is good. We're looking at leukocytes, white blood cells.
Let's go in there and finish.
And other things that are in there. So it gives you guys an idea. This is the first time you've seen where we've kind of done showing you how to run your numbers. We're going to do this transition again where we're going to unplug this. We're going to take this computer. I'm going to take the video monitor. And there we go. I'm back. And so we'll see how you guys thought about that. Oh, okay. Oh, mine's in my pocket. Okay, thank you. So let's see if you guys had anything to say about this. 5x5, you guys can hear. United we stand, thumbs up. Good. Maybe too far away from the mic now. Got it. Agree with it. So what happened was, I presume, is when we were using our little camera, that it has a little microphone on it, and it was turning around and using that microphone. So we'll work on that for the future. We do have a better mic. Still not hearing, can't hear. That's a bit better at the sink. Can only hear when close to the laptop. Got it. Okay. So we do have a, what we'll have to do is we'll go back and review it and see if you guys can actually, if the video is worthwhile or whether we need to do that again. But I'm hoping that sitting there and running a set of numbers and showing you how that is, that it's not something that's difficult. Because the idea, and I think Dr. Reams wanted this, is the idea is to equip you to do this stuff at home. So now we have this set of numbers. If you look at that, 4.2, 5.30 over 7.0, 28.3 C, 4M plus, and 7 over 10.5 with a vitamin C level of 10. And so then we look at a urinary analysis. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I didn't say. I was eating my breakfast. Sorry.
And then we look at the urinary analysis, and on a urinary analysis, you have leukocytes, which are white blood cells, nitrates. You look for nitrates because the byproduct of bacterial overgrowth is producing excess nitrogen in there. And if you're nitrate positive, a lot of times that's when you'll see urinary tract infections. Urobilinogen is a byproduct of with bilirubin and coming out in the urine, and you got bilirubin down near the bottom. You got protein, pH, blood, specific gravity, ketones, bilirubin, and glucose. And this is something we could talk about. I mean, they've written books about it. I have a book right over here about understanding a urinary analysis. But if you're starting to look at a set of numbers, like when you're looking at these numbers today, where you have this 7 over 10.5 with a 4M plus, I'm actually surprised with a 10 over 10.5 that there's no protein in the urine.
of that sample. And so when we're looking at that, it makes you wonder, like, the urinary analysis helps complete a picture for you, because we're trying to understand. So like many times with women, if you see pHs of 5.3 like this is today, and you'll see a trace amount of blood in the urine, you can most of the time be accurate if they're in childbearing years, that they're on their cycle or just finished it up, because you'll see the numbers kind of point in that direction. So I'm going to look and see if you guys have any questions today. A redo would be great. Okay, we'll have to look at doing a redo on that, Annie, and setting up the microphone separate and make sure it goes for the microphone. And what we'll probably do is start back there and then record that and then move and do it that way. But today we had to have that herbal shot, so it just kind of made things a little differently. This is very helpful for future reference too. I have the hardest time deciding what colors match to the color chart. Yeah, I mean, you got to look and see the darkness of the colors. You know, if you see that brown coming through, it's got, you know, particularly if it starts orange and you got that brown coming through, once you hit that brown, you're over 10. You know, even if that ring doesn't make it all the way around like the 11. So 10.5, you know, is what I did, because, yeah, the ring was there. It was brown. You know, the blue, you could see that it had a pretty dark blue ring, but the color behind it wasn't dark. So that's what keeps it under a 10. The other thing is when you're running that nitrate, that sulfuric acid, that when you put those 4 drops in, if you see a hint of blue flash through, then you know it's going to be a 10 or above. So you know, there is subjectivity in that aspect of learning to read those nitrates. But all honesty, what we're trying to do is have some type of standardization, that we see consistency in how people are testing, so that if you run your numbers at home, and if you're like, oh, what do these numbers mean, then you can contact somebody who knows what they mean and give them to you. So I have a family from New York here right now, and they were learning how to run their numbers while they're here doing some services and things, and just like, okay, this is incredible. What do I do at home? I'm like, well, now you have your 18-year-old son who is able to run the numbers, you know, proficiently. So, you know, run these numbers, run the bricks, run the pH regularly, and learn the pattern. And then we'll check a full set of numbers in 2 weeks and see the progress. Because in reality, when you make a change, that change will be reflective over a 7 and 10 day period before you see a new stability in the numbers based upon the changes that you made. So that's why it's not like, don't chase your numbers. If you know, running a full set of numbers every day or even twice a day in a retreat, yeah, because we're trying to know what's going on, know how to push those numbers to get you through usually a pretty intensive detoxification. Because in a true retreat, you're going to go there being like, oh, I'm going to be fed like a king. You know, when you come to our retreats, we feed you like a king. But if you went to a retreat where you were sleeping to get better, you know, no, we're going to fast you. You're going to not eat any food. We're going to watch your numbers, and we're going to help you monitor through that. And personally, you know, I'd probably be inclined to use a little bit of an herbal support or aromatherapy or vibrational therapy with tuning forks. Or there are so many ways that you can functionally support the body without actually, you know, ingesting something. You know, whether it be Rife machines. I wouldn't use a Rife machine if you're fasting somebody right up front, unless you run what's called mortal oscillatory rates, that are just general well-being frequencies. But let me see here. I would redo with caps also for hearing impaired. Oh, I don't know if we can do cap. That's kind of like not something you do on YouTube that I know how to do. Maybe you can find some program that'll watch YouTube and do it for you. Let's see. Carolyn, demonstration is helpful. I am visual learner. Maybe there is other. Carol, we made you run your numbers twice a day for 3 days. I hope you know how to run your numbers. Who makes a good urine analysis machine? I get ours through a company called McKesson. You know, and McKesson is a pharmacy wholesaler. And whether you actually have to be a practitioner or not to buy a urinary analysis machine, I don't know. If you do, I mean, hell, I'll get it and sell it to you for, and do it that way. But it's crazy that you would have to do something from having a home testing piece of equipment. But the strips are relatively affordable. I mean, you get 100 strips for probably $12, or something like that. But having that machine with the accuracy of doing it that gives you spits out results. I had a machine from Bayer that my dad used for 20 plus years, and I used it, and it still works. And I was trying to give it to Annie, because we got the new one. And
we're going to be running full numbers at my house.
At some point, there you go. So, good West Virginia.
It'll take a little while.
What about the dipstick for your analysis? Yeah, I mean, that's basically the dipstick is what the urinalysis machine does. So you can take those things, dip the urine, and then set a timer for 30 minutes. And then on the bottle, which I didn't show you, is color codes where you can hold that urine at 1 minute against that stick against the bottle. And then you can write down your variables and you can write them all down. It's easy to do. Have a machine do it for you. You're taking out hey, is that really orange, or is that kind of a pinkish, or that guess of where it is versus having a machine that detects the variations and records those things. So I'm going to do a GI map test. That's good. They look at microbes. They look at a general well-being. Any type of analysis is good to do. But when you see imbalances on like a GI map and those microorganisms, the idea is not just take the probiotics. You got to change the internal world that they're living in. And the thing that dictates the world more than anything is frequency, which goes down to pH, and the speed of what's going on in your body. And so even Royal Rife, Annie has a little thing that she can flash up right now because I know it's on OBS. And Royal Rife made the statement years ago, and I don't know if you guys are seeing that right now, but he said, paraphrasing, that a body that is pH balanced is a body that's healthy. And so, can you read the exact quote? Can you see it, Annie?
I don't have the quote up, but I have the two books, the one for Lyme and the other just on frequency, and then a picture of the Rife machine itself. But that quote, no, I can.
Oh, that quote is on there. It's one of the choices on the OBS. You had I was looking at them the other week. Okay, so anyway, there's a quote that Rife made, and it was about pH.
I found it.
Aha. See, I knew it was there.
Hold on.
And
so we can see it.
And she's going to pop it up. It takes a minute for the feed for me to see when it does pop up. But essentially, what is it? Can you read it?
If the human body is balanced in pH and nutrients, it is not susceptible to disease.
Wow. If the pH is balanced if the body is balanced in pH and nutrients, wow, how do you determine if the body is balanced in pH and nutrients? RBTI. I mean, it's amazing. It really does give you an idea of how to balance it based upon the chemistry of explaining the chemistry of what we are. There is no better tool, people. We could turn around, and look at those numbers and say, okay, this 5.30 over 7.0 with a Brix of 4.2 and a conductivity of 28. We have over a 1 to 6 value. We got too much salt going. We have this acidic pH, got vitamin D deficiency, got calcium deficiency, have weakness in the bile, digestive issues, would per se, gas, bloating, adrenal stress issues when you're having those variations in pH with the high conductivity. You're going to have the dehydration is going to lead to just a general foggy brain. We're at 10.5 out there on the nitrates is saying that there's a gastrointestinal imbalance and an overgrowth potential. Where we're not processing our ammonia, which leads to both magnesium and potassium aspartate deficiency and needs. That 4M plus is saying, hey, the kidneys are working. They're doing what they need to do. The body is getting rid of dead cells. You can look at scleral patterns and see if there's a bunch of, we had Paul Braddock on last week talking about scleral patterns. I am not good at sclerology. I do want, and I have a camera to take pictures of the of the iris and the sclera. And I want to just take pictures of people's eyes and keep them in the chart month after month and looking at the numbers and compare them so I can learn them, and learn by observation, because that's the only way you're going to learn that stuff. You can learn where those zones are. Paul said if you have zone 30 and 31, which is RBTI scleral charts, can be found at Rex Harrell's site, Brixman. I love Rex's site, by the way. And if you go there, he has those scleral charts. Find zone 30, 31. Look at your eye in a mirror, and if you have those, particularly if you have horizontal blood vessels in the eye in that zone, and it's inflamed in that zone, then he's saying that he has never failed to see that there's a hiatal hernia issue there. And so that's something to take into consideration. I'm just saying gather information from people who have observed it. That's the key. Is we're losing the aspects of natural medicine that's based upon observation. And how did people decide what was needed in the first place years ago? Was observation. How did Rife learn that a specific frequency killed a specific microbe? Observation. How did Reams learn what these numbers were telling him? Observation. Hey, go, keep a detailed diet diary and bring me a urine sample every day. Tell me what you ate. And he ran people's numbers and just kind of kept watching it and like making observations and then doing mathematical calculations to what made sense. It was observation. And so I'm trying to teach you to observe yourself and to love yourself by saying, hey, if these numbers are imbalanced in this way, then this is telling me that, hey, we need some calcium, we need some trace minerals, zinc, we need selenium, we need manganese. Those are the ones that Reams directly talked about quite often. You can see other trace minerals, like when you're seeing this high saliva pH and conductivity. I know that there's a mineral utilization, so taking colloidal minerals, some humic minerals or fulvic minerals in this case, and for long term, no, but getting those trace minerals in would equate to improved efficiency and improved energy. There's dehydration. We need to drink water here in this case.
What would you recommend eating with numbers like that?
You got to go based on the DE. So we're looking at, you're going to be a little bit of a fast oxidizer, so you have to have the proteins and fats. The problem is this is not going to digest the proteins and fats the way that they should. So this person could do some digestive enzymes while they're eating those proteins and fats, or get more vegetable-based protein and fat sources. So using your monounsaturated oils, your avocado, your olive oil, and those type of things. Annie, you're putting me on the spot with food. Right. I see what you're doing. Oh my God, where's my list and my cheat sheet? With the prominent calcium. So we have a prominent calcium cheat sheet that tells you that if you're in the DE range, these would be your better choices of foods. Annie was working on writing those recipes down. So being in the DE range, what fruits and vegetables would they choose, Annie?
Oh, well, I don't have my cheat sheet either, Oh, mercy, I don't remember.
Where's Betty when we need her? Betty, I know you're out there. Help! Ah! And so, it's kind of ironic, you look at the DE diet and you see that prominent calciums of meat tend to help with the pH. They have that calcium carbonate source. And so, but the problem is people in the DE are not digesting those meats as well as they should. Now, you have to understand that just because you fall in that D diet or E diet doesn't mean that you can't digest meats also. You can look and see if somebody's numbers and say that these were 5.3 over 6.4. Then that means that the bile is appropriate, that they should be able to digest those. And what number would you correlate that with? Who would know? This is a quiz 101, so now I've got 4.2, 5.3 over 6.4, okay? And then you have over that 4.2, say we're right at 20. So you got a good sugar to salt ratio, so a little dehydrated. And then you still have that 4M plus, but you get out to those nitrates that are out there. And all of a sudden, instead of being 7 over 10 and a half, we have 12 over 6 on those nitrates. So now, what are we looking at with regards to their ability to digest meats? What is telling us that now, hey, this person's digesting, just they're still in the DE range because they're in a, they got that 5.3 pH and they're dehydrated. They got the high sugars, high salts, high nitrates, cell debris. And the urine, like I said, but the saliva pH dropped into 6.4. So what values are telling us that, hey, this person's digesting okay, and a little bit of meat's fine, but there's still vitamin D. They still need those calciums that are going to bring it up. And we're going to go to the DE vegetable sources and say, look, these low glycemic vegetables are the ones you need to eat more of because they're going to raise your pH more so than you just taking some Cal-2, calcitrate, dicalcium phosphate, those type of calcium sources. Anything, when you're talking about calc phos and calc lactate, those pretty much bring the calciums down, but your calcium oxide, those forms that bring it up, calcium carbonate, it doesn't mean go eat Tums. So who knows what those were? Let me see if anybody put it on here. Yeah, I know how to run my numbers. I was trying to help others. Yeah, I know you know how to run your numbers, Carol. Chronic blood in the urine, multiple tests done, no cause, any suggestions? Yeah, you got to get your numbers. You got to work with your other numbers because you're having a mineral deficiency and a breakdown in the kidney. And so a little bit of vitamin E, by all means, would be beneficial. I'd use some herbs in some cases, a little bit of horsetail. Can be beneficial in that case. A little bit of gallium, cleavers would be really good. So it's good to, I love herbs, people. I mean, you get some trait there, they'll feed it. Even stinging nettles, drinking some stinging nettles tea would be it helps with inflammation. It's nutritive. It's got some basic trace elements that are good for the urinary passageways. So, but when you start correcting your numbers by looking at the imbalances of the trace minerals that are missing and correcting it based upon your numbers, that blood will go away. I've seen blood disappear. People saying, oh, I've had passive hematuria for 20 years and my doctor says it's fine. And then 3-6 months later, well, there's no blood in your urine. Well, what do you mean there's no blood in my urine? I always have no blood in your urine. It's healed up, And so I see that all the time. Always have your cheat sheets handy. Yeah, you're right. I should. Thank you, Betty. Let's see. Still waiting for my oat urine test. I was recently diagnosed with osteopenia, and based on your info, is my pH too acidic and my body is pulling calcium to balance? Heck yeah, it is. If you're running in that D range and your pH, your urine pH is consistently, particularly below 6.0, you're calcium deficient, you're vitamin D deficient. And one product that I've really found that helps is bone morphogenic peptides. And there's a product called Ostenol. A little bit expensive, but when people are taking Ostenol, it's like taking a bone glandular in combination with the corrective supplements based upon your RBTI chemistry. And you notice I word supplements because I'm a pharmacist and I think supplements. And and Andy's going to say, Doc, well, what foods would you eat for that chronically low pH? And I'd say the DE diet. And Betty would say, Doc, you should have your cheat sheet and read them right off so people don't know, And I agree. I should. I need to learn foods. Really, more do. I was, I'm trained as a pharmacist. When I went to naturopathic school, I had a history of living on crap. I was fed, TV dinners and canned foods and fast foods. And, my idea of healthy diet at the time when I started pharmacy school or started naturopathic school was at least eating my salads at Wendy's, and I go for faux food all the time. And getting some vegetables in. It really, people, food was just a foreign concept. I had no clue how to cut an avocado. It was just, making my own salads. They never tasted as good as they did from getting them at a restaurant. And food was just not my ordeal. Now going to Having these retreats and having our cook Chris there are just incredible. I have learned how to eat, and but it doesn't mean that I always, consistently do what I'm supposed to do. And so, but when you're talking osteopenia, you have to get out of that DE. You got to take, you're having chronic calcium issues, and so you're gonna need those calcium forms, a min call with every meal at a minimum, and then figuring out, what type of vitamin D, what trace minerals, trace elements are important for getting that bone to solidify. Trace amounts of silica. It might be a really, really good idea for you to take some diatomaceous earth on a daily basis. Even if that's like a teaspoon of diatomaceous earth in your water. You can watch, and there's forums out there on diatomaceous earth and the silica and your hair and your skin improving because of doing that. But you may detox, from doing that as well. You may have parasites and not know about them. There's so much that you learn from, starting a good nutritional program, because as your pHs start honing in and your body becomes more efficient, your body detoxes, people. We talked about the 5 phases, and looking at how the body works in association with the world around us. Because I know Annie's putting up a little 5-phase kind of picture for you guys right now. And basically those 5 phases aren't meaning that you have to do phase 1 to go to phase 2 to go to phase 3 to go to phase 4 to go to phase 5. I'm going to tell you, in all honesty, start with phase 5. Self-awareness. If you feel like crap, hopefully you got enough sense to say, okay, I got to do something. I got to do something different. That's the whole basis of the phase 5 is self-awareness, whether it be through meditation and prayer and journaling and stretching and finding routine, but that 5th phase of self-awareness is huge. And so phase 1 is clean up your environment, just stop using the crap products. It'll make the world of difference. Pure air, pure food, pure water, EMF protection. We could turn around and we could argue about distilled water and putting distilled water in you and causing a demineralization of the body to occur. Versus drinking spring water or these therapeutic volcanic waters that have these trace elements in there. There is definitely benefit in healing power of various springs in the world because they provide higher amounts of magnesium or silica or certain trace elements, and people go and they get healed because they're so deficient that these springs give them nutrients and minerals in a colloidal form that they absorb right through their skin, because Reams himself said that you can get 80% of the minerals that you need on a daily basis through your skin by just walking around in a healthy, mineral-rich environment. Go find the waterfalls and stand near them. Go to the ocean and just get in the sun and open up those pores and that ionized air with trace minerals from the ocean. It's therapeutic just to be there, because you will get healing from those minerals that you absorb, And so when we're talking about water and drinking distilled water, that's because of its purative aspects. There's nothing in it. It's going to electromagnetically adapt to your frequency. So what is your frequency? If you are the pH of like a 5.3 and you're drinking just distilled water, that doesn't mean that you're directly benefiting yourself, because you already are at lack. You have to look at these numbers for the picture of what they're giving. So phase 1 is clean up that environment. Just stop using the crap products. Get them off your body. Stop eating GMO foods. Using pesticide removing sprays to wash all your fruits and vegetables. Buying organic, clean meats. Just put purity back in your body the best that you can. We all live in this screwed up environment, and sometimes, people stop for some type of quick fast food to get them by. Okay, if you stay in the AB range, It's okay to do that, but not all the time. It's like, oh my God, I got to eat something. Okay. And if you eat the crap, your body will know how to process it. Believe me, I was loaded with crap growing up. Just, I go back and I remember a picture of me when I was 12 and I had this little round belly and just not in shape at all, and I go back and I look and I'm like, and that wasn't because I didn't exercise. I played baseball. I was living on a bicycle. I played games every day. It's because I was raised on canned and boxed food, and out of an envelope, add butter and water and heat it up, and that was not sustenance. That was not giving me what I needed, and so my body was like, hey, you got to store it somewhere. So I created little fat pouches, and so when I have an issue, it wants to go back right there again, and because we store this stuff called brown adipose, brown fat, and it's hormonally active, and it stores things like dioxins and PCBs that are hormonally active, because if your body can't process them, it's got to store them somewhere, so cleansing, so right now, where Betty wants to start a retreat. She wants to get a real retreat going. And my only fear and hesitation and word of caution, Betty, is when you start fasting people, they have a lot bigger load than they did when you were back doing this with your father. The amount of pesticides that are used, the amount of what's on our food, what's in our water, the genetically modified foods, the lack of nutrition, the people who are really in need are really truly sick. Whereas you mentioned last week that your dad said if they were not in range A or B, if they were in C, D, or E, they should be in a retreat. Most people are in C, D, or E. In reality, D and E when they come into my office. Occasionally you see the people who are in range C or even a B, and those are the ones who already think that they're consciously healthy, because they are eating healthy diets and they practice yoga or they're getting in touch. And those are the people who really want to take it up a step. And then you start showing them, well, you've done this, but you still have parasites, or you still have these other things, and we're going to help you get that. And you just take it to the next level, is because we are as healthy as we choose to be, and as healthy as we understand what health means. And what people are learning in the media as far as health is, let me just take and put essential oils all over me, and I can still eat kind of crappy and do what I want as long as I'm using these essential oils, and I'll be fine. Or whatever it may be. As long as I take this, I'll be fine. Or, hey, I'm eating mostly healthy. I'm eating at Panera and Chipotle, and that's mostly where I'm eating my foods, and I'm buying yogurts, and they're putting granola in it. There's a lot of things of what's portrayed as healthy that isn't necessarily always a healthy diet or food, because the chemistry says, hey, we need to eat vegetables, and we need specific vegetables, and we need cooked foods, and we need to drink water, and we need to support our digestive tract because it's not working as well as it ought to be. And so there are so many therapeutic options when you look at a set of numbers like this, that you can turn around and say, come in and do my therapies, or get back on the basics, cleanse, reset your chemistry, do a protein dumping diet, drink your water, reset the chemistry, sweat a little bit. Those therapies are great, but we got to look at the picture that's being formed, and not just get stuck in a mindset that it's only one way to move these numbers. It's not. And so with a retreat setting, fasting is a huge implication that I would love to work with people with fasting. So as we go through and just bring it all back to those 5 phases, and I just keep going on these tangents, clean up your environment, test and know, phase 2, know what you need. So a hair analysis, darn good thing to do. At least once a year. Where are my trace minerals? Or, organic acid testing. Yes, Betty, I will email your results. And Annie, make me email Betty her results before we leave today. Oh. And then, Betty, I am alone today and tomorrow after this show, and you can call me, okay? or text me and say, hey, when's a good time to talk? And I will, Annie, make me print off her results and take them home with me. And so, Betty, you can hit me up this weekend and we'll talk about your results, because there are definitely some things that you need to do with those results. But test and know, people, that's phase 2. And so when you identify what you're testing for are what are my burdens, what are my stressors. So I do food and chemical sensitivity testing. And so stop eating these foods, because I have seen through my own practice, and you're not going to learn this anywhere else in RBTI, that if you get identify your food and chemical sensitivities and then you avoid those numbers move towards ideal. And when you eat those, you can tell that somebody ate them. I had somebody come in yesterday, and day before yesterday, and it was a 12-year-old kid who's having issues with his growth plates and knee pain, and he has to go with his traditional doctors that he's been working with for over a year, because he wants to play sport, but they won't let him because of the concerns with what's happening on his growth plates and everything. And I look at his numbers, and I'm like, what did you have 2 days ago? And the mom's like, well, we're really doing fine. To nothing do I, can recall. But we're going through the consult. We're talking about things and drinking water and rehydrating, and how even though his numbers were crappy, the pH was honing in. I'm like, okay, I know he's eating stuff that I know that his minerals are good, and his body's trying to go back. But these values, based upon this pattern, is saying this is what's happening. And then lo and behold, they remembered that they had a pasta dish with shrimp in it and tomato. And the kid tested to wheat, tomato, and we always tell people stay away from shellfish. And okay, that's what he had 2 days ago. And so it's interesting how when you start looking at what I learned in naturopathic medicine from food sensitivity standpoint, and why people just got better by doing by avoiding those foods, is because the numbers reflect it, and the numbers can tell me when they're eating these foods. And if you learn that basic pattern, I should have Carolyn Worstman or one of these people who has been to a retreat turn around and say the pattern that occurs when you eat a food sensitivity. It's there. So you clean up your environment, test, and then supplement. Supplements are just that. It's a supplement. It's not fix myself with taking more supplements. A supplement is a supplement to a healthy diet. So Annie's right. I should know the foods. I should be able to tell you what to eat. I should be able to look at those numbers and do what Betty did in the retreats that no one else has ever known about. That's the difference between what Betty's trying to teach you is eat this way, drink some green bean juice, drink some pineapple juice every day, drink watermelon tea, eat poached eggs or whatever. There's a reason that they ate these things in retreats. And you are not going to learn that from me, because I'm learning it from Betty when I go to these things.
Well, it's also something you can learn if you test a lot. You can figure out what you're allergic to and all that. Figure out some science.
Exactly. I have a client who watched my shows over a year ago, and he got testing equipment, and he, based upon just watching my shows, he kept testing himself on a regular basis, watched what he ate, and by the time he finally did a consult about 6 months later, he had already cleared up his gout. He had already, his inflammation on his back pain and stuff had improved, and he had already lost weight. He had learned that dried beans, by soaking them and having beans every day, were like magic for the guy. His chemistry would come up, his pHs would come up, and eating beans, having dried beans and letting them soak each night, and having a serving of dried beans every day were just magical for what they did for him. But he had where, hey, I've got this far, I've had all this stuff go away, can you help me? And he was already taking Mincol, because we had already talked about it. He was already drinking lemon water with his meals, and it transformed the guy's life, and he just wanted to hone in at that point. Everybody out there can do this, and that's what Reams wanted. Anybody can test. The problem is the way RBTI has been traditionally taught is that, hey, you got to learn and learn and learn and learn so you can test, and then you got to learn more before you start recommending to people. And it does not need to be that way. You can test and immediately have an idea of whether you're drinking enough water or not. You can test and immediately have an idea if you're eating the wrong foods or not by just observing what those numbers do when you eat. Observation. So supplementation on phase 3 is just taking what your body needs. And if you do those things, you're going to detox, people. You're going to feel a little bit crappy, but it's good. It's a good thing. Your body's going to start dumping out of that adipose tissue and dumping the crap that you don't need to be there. Phase 5, self-awareness. Again, start there. Start there. Know what's going on with your body. Realize it. We're going to keep going over all this stuff as we keep teaching. Let's see. Anything else that I need to see? Still waiting on the oat urine test. Oats is a great test at Q+. Is pomegranate extract for circulation? Yeah, pomegranates are rich in flavonoids. That's what gives them that deep, dark red color. And flavonoids are good for circulation. So dark berries, wonderful for circulation in general. Would Fuji water be beneficial? Yes, it does have silica in it. I love Fuji water. If I'm out buying, I typically suggest Smart Water for those of you who are RBTIers and looking for something to drink if you're out and about. It has a trace amount of magnesium and potassium in it. It's distilled, but you should be taking your minerals in today's day and age because you do need that supplement. But otherwise, Fuji water, wonderful. Voss, good water. Also, what's that one from Hawaii? Maluka or something like that, or Manuka hunt. I'm thinking Manuka honey, Melaleuca, but it's not. There's a water out there that's in the stores. It's a volcanic water from Hawaii. It's rich in minerals. It's a good water source to do for those who are just in general depleted. I was worried about drinking distilled water with osteopenia. Don't be, as long as you're taking your minerals. You need to flush out those 48 trace minerals that are crap that your body doesn't need, but you need to be putting your minerals in. And that's why, Mincol is not just calcium phosphate. There's an analysis done by Mincol that it does have a lot of trace minerals in it. And if you're truly concerned, I would take a shot glass of fulvic humic minerals every day. We sell them from Morningstar Minerals. They're wonderful. They don't taste wonderful always, but the energy boost is decent. You can't really taste the difference in it. The inner vitality is not too bad. The vitality boost, which is just straight humic minerals, it's dirt. You're drinking dirt. Tastes like dirt. Makes your teeth look like dirt. That's probably got from West Virginia when I drink that stuff. But I'm telling you, it's
Oh my God.
I am from West Virginia. I can knock on myself. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Wow, thank you, Doc. Yes, Betty, I'm more than happy to do that. Distilled water flushes out the crap better than any other water. Yes, it does. Thank you for the info, everyone. We are at 11 o'clock. It shows up, done. I think, we went all over the place today. Annie, putting you on the spot, how did that herbal shot, how'd you feel? How do you feel today?
Way better than I was when I got here. I hadn't slept yet. I didn't sleep last night, so when I got here this morning, I was like, Doc, I am not ready. And I'm me, so it worked. I think it worked like a charm.
Good. People, I love using herbs. I like aromatherapy oils. I like it, but it's not just the answer. I mean, it really can help. It really can put things into perspective. But you got to watch the numbers. There's some great herbs out there that even Reem suggested, but there's cases where you should never use them. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, Betty. We're gonna print that out for you, and I'll be talking to you later. People, I hope that was enjoyed. We'll work on doing another show and running those numbers again. And until then, until I see you guys again, take care. God bless.